Hello guys, in this tutorial I will show you how you can change texts appearing in the Silent Hunter 5 Nav Map. So let's look at the text of the city of Inverness, which has a typo in it. So in real life this city is called Inverness, and in this tutorial we're gonna change this text to the correct version, and at the same time we do not only change the typo, we also use kind of a different font. So as you can see here, this is the result we're gonna have when we finish with this tutorial. Okay, so first of all we need to know which file we have to edit. So I have opened the Silent Hunter 5 mission editor, loaded the Total Germany campaign, and just have one mission layer visible, which is called location names. And I know that in this mission layer all the texts appearing on the nav map are configured. So let's a little bit scroll into the location where we know that Inverness is located, and we see here some map location objects. So let's start the map location edit mode and select one, and now we see here's the text Inverness, which is the wrong one we want to change. And here on the left side we can see that the image 2D map uses the Inverness DE text shapefile. So SHP is kind of an abbreviation for shape. So okay, that was just for your information. Let's close this one. We don't need it really for follow up that tutorial. So let's go into our Silent Hunter 5 installation folder, into data, then into terrain, into location maps, and here in location maps we will find all those shapefiles. So we're scrolling down, looking for the file we just identified, which is Inverness DE text point SHP. So I'll make a copy of that first, just to be sure that I don't work on the real file. And let's delete this old one and copy it onto my desktop. So in this tutorial we will use three pieces of software. The first one is a simple text editor, so I'll use Notepad++ because it's my favorite one. So let's open up this copied file in Notepad++ and have a quick look on it. So we see it starts with the first two lines. So the first indicates that this shape is using a texture file, and this texture file is called Textura Color Blue O Cities DDS. So let's go back into our location maps, and you'll find a subfolder there. It's called shape textures. Open that up and we will see that there is somewhere, here it is, a Textura Color Blue O Cities DDS file. You can open that up with either in front view, or I use for DDS files GIMP, which is a free image program, and there's a DDS plugin for that available. So if we open that up, we'll see that this is just a square file with a dark gray. So this is the color that is used for the text later on the nav map. So we can close this, was just for your information. So okay, let's go on and back to our copied and saved shapefile. So in the next, so the third line, we see the number of 700, and this number just indicates how many points are used in order to create that shape. So that means starting from here, this is a point which is the X, the Y, and the Z in the 3D world. As you see, most of the points have 0, 0 at the last, because we're talking about a 2D object which doesn't really have to have a Z-axis. So that means 700 points. We are on line 4, so plus 700. Let's scroll down to the line 703. That means here we have our 700 points, and you already see that this last few lines have value for the Z-axis, so we will later on delete these values and replace them with 0, 0, because it's easier then for us to work in the 3D program. What we see is that starting at line 704, we have another set of points, and apparently exact the same number of points. So these are kind of texture coordinates. So we just forget about these at the moment, and I'll show you later on what we'll do when we create our own text file. So at the end of those points, we have another number indicating 686, and then we have those lines, and these lines are defining the faces. So that means point 2 connected to point 3 connected to point 0. So this is something that is different to a normal 3D faces configuration, because here in the Silent Hunter 5 shapefiles, we start with a 0 indicator. That means that 0 is this very first line. So in order to convert this in a later step, we have to calculate all those faces definitions one up, and I'll show you. I'll use Excel for that, but you will see that later on in the tutorial. So okay, let's go on. The first step we do is we know we have 700 points in order to create our shape. So we'll copy the next 700 lines from here down to this one. So copy that, and then I'll open up a new Excel sheet. So, and call that vertices import. So now I paste the copied values into it. So now I have them, all those 3 in one line. What I do now is I have a German version, but you might follow up with an English version too. So I split that up into 3 parts. So as I know that the space is used for determining that, so I just put that on. So okay, and now I have split it up. My that's my x-axis, my y-axis, my z-axis. As I said, for the use in Blender, we don't need the z-axis. I just ignore this line. What I do now is I just create in another column with a formula the values that I need for an import into Blender. So, and I'll use a formula. So the English formula for it would be concatenate. So in German it's verketten, and I say, and that just puts together text values. So I say, let's start every line with a V, followed by a space, and then I need this value, again followed by a space, and then followed by this value, and again followed by a space. And as we default everything on the z-axis to 0, I can directly write this down and don't have to care with the values that we have exported. So let's make that a little bit bigger. Okay, then now you see this will be later used for importing into Blender. So I copy that down. Okay, so I make a new tab and rename that to Faces Import, and do nearly the same. Go back to my shapefile, now scrolling down until the faces start, which is here. So copy all the faces definitions, copy them, paste into here. As I already configured to split them up, this will be done automatically by Excel. So in the next step I do the same using the concatenate function, but this time I start with faces followed by a space, and this time I don't only use the value from here, so we have to do +1 on every value, because Blender doesn't recognize this 0. So it starts by counting the first vertice as 1. So we have to count every vertice configured here up by 1. So another space, then we take the second value, also +1, another space, and the third value, +1, and we're done. So let's copy this formula down to the end. Okay. So next step is we're going back to our text editor, make a new file, and now we create an import file that we could import into Blender. So we start that with an O, which indicates we are gonna to import an object, give that a name, which is Ivanes import. So, and now we just make sure everything is in our Excel file. We selected all the values we just created for the vertices, copy that, paste that into our new file. We do the same with the faces. Copy that and just paste that into. So we save that file. So I take all types and say I save it on the desktop and call it evenness import point obj object. Save it. Okay. So next step is I'll open up Blender. So Blender opens up with a default file which has a cube in it. We don't need that. I delete the cube. There's also lighting in. We don't need that. Delete the lighting and delete the camera. So now I have a complete empty file. So what I do now is I go to File, Import, Wavefront Object File, go to my desktop, and use the evenness import object. And as you can see, voila, we have imported the text. So as you can see, it's just a simple plain 2D mesh which creates these texts. So why have I done this importing? It's only just that we have a reference for our own text that we are going to create now. So we are changing to the front view so that we have a 2D view. Just put that a little bit up because I replaced it. Okay. So on the next step, I just deselect the viewport selection so that I don't work on that file, because it's just there to give me an idea how big I have to scale my new text. So what I'm gonna do now is I choose from the Add menu, Add Text. So apparently we don't see, we just see here this little orange stripe because Blender places the text on another plane. So what we're going to do is we just switch here to Object and rotate this by 90 degrees on the x-axis. So, and now we see here we have the text that Blender created. So changing here to the edit mode, I just change that from text to inverness. So this is the correct version or the correct text we want to have. Switch back to object mode. So now we can see it outlined. What I'm gonna do now is I select here the font text type. So scroll a little bit down, center the text. So as we can see, it's a little bit too small. So we want to have it in the nearly the exact size than the original one. So we don't have to care about sizing later on the Nav Map, which is done normally in the mission editor. So going back to the object mode, here with the scales, let's put that to 2.0 and the other one to 2.0 to have a look. It's a little bit too large, so we can do it a little bit down. Let's say 1.5 and 1.5. Yeah, that looks good. So as I said, I don't want to only change the typo, so putting in the missing N. I also want to have a different font later on the Nav Map. So this can also be done here in Blender. So I go back to the font for this. And Blender doesn't bring in, only brings in one font, but you can use every TrueType font that is on your on your PC. So what I did is I downloaded a font which is a little bit like this one. So, and after World War I, this was a font which was commonly used on technical drawings and nav maps, and yeah, I found a free font on the internet, downloaded this, and we were gonna use this one in for our new text. So I'll open up the font locator. So fonts are most likely in your Windows folder, font, and the font I'm using is called TGL 016, which is, yeah, you just see it a bit rounded and a bit, I don't know the English word for cursive, which is the German word for it. So okay, we see it's a little bit smaller, so let's go up with our scale to 1.75. Yeah, that looks good. 1.75. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay, so now we have created the text. Another thing is we need to have the dot. So we could now go on and split up the imported mesh, but what we're gonna do is just create our own one. We're gonna add mesh circle. So, and now a circle is added. We have to do the same, just rotate it by 90 degrees. So then let's place it where the original circle is. So it's too big, so we call S for scaling. Scale the circle down. Yeah, that looks good. So the only problem we have now is that Blender doesn't fill the circle with faces. So in order to do that, we have the circle still selected. We change to edit mode. So now all the vertices around the circle are selected. And now we're gonna type E for extrude, S for scale, and 0. So now Blender has created all the faces. We do with a left click, everything is okay. And now we just call V and say remove doubles, and now you see up here Blender just removed 31 unneeded vertices. Okay, so we can blend out our old text, or even better, we don't need it anymore. We can delete this one. So, okay, now we have just the text and the circle. The only thing we see, the text and the circle are now up here combined out of 7,000 vertices and 3,512 faces, which is quite a lot, and we really don't need so much faces. So the first thing we do is we gonna convert our text into a mesh. This is done by selecting the text and then calling Alt-C and select mesh from curve serve text. Okay. Okay, now we have a the text converted into a mesh, the same as the circle. So one thing, and this step is really needed, you have to look if all your normals of your object are facing to you. If that is not the case, then you might not see the text later on the Nav Map. In order to do so, we can go to the edit mode, call n, and then down here you have no, first we have to select all, and now we can have a look on where our normals are facing, and we see, if we zoom in, they are all facing not towards us but just in the other direction, so, and that is not good. So we have to take care that all objects that we are exporting later, all faces are facing towards us. We can do this by just going here on the right side while in edit mode and say flip direction. So, and now if we scroll in, we see all the faces are have their normals towards us. Okay, in the next step we're gonna combine the text and the circle into one object by just right-clicking. No, first change to the object mode, then gonna right-click with shift the circle. So now we have both, and now we call Control J, which combines both into one object. So we have now one object, and now we're gonna reduce the faces and vertices that are currently used, because as we see, currently our combined object has 3,500 vertices and 3,512 faces, which is quite a lot, and we don't need that much. And therefore we use something called it's a modifier. Let's delete this old one. It just changes your object without touching the original one. So, and the one we're looking for is decimate. Just open that up, and now we can decimate the used vertices and faces by a certain ratio. So if we first, let's type 0.5, then we see now the faces count is going down by a half. And we already also see in the 3D view that our text is still quite sharp, so we can go down way further. So let's say 0.1. So now we have 300 faces. So just in order to show you that there's really something happen, I go down to a very low value, like 0.001. And now it's really reduced. So that was too much. So let's stay with 0.1. So it's 351 faces, and as you might remember from our original starting file, it had I think about 700 faces, so we already reduced the faces count and also the file size by nearly the half. Okay, then we have created our own text. We made sure that all the normals are facing towards us, and for the moment we're done in Blender. The only thing we have to do is go to File, Export, and export it as a Wavefront object. So I'll go to my desktop and call that object Inverness underscore export object. Just make sure that the apply modifiers is in there. We can take all this out. Only those three should be called, and that the Z axis is looking forward to you, and the epsilon axis is going up. So we have this exported. I close up and on my desktop I should have somewhere, where is it? Going back, have a look. Export. I called it the wrong way. I call it just even as object. Let's replace that even as export. So now it's correct. And export it. So back to the desktop. There it is. So let's open this up with our text editor. And now we see it has exported all the vertices and down here all the faces. And now we just do the same thing we did with exporting from shapefile to an object, just the other way around. So let's start with copying all the vertices. And going back to our Excel file, we use a new tab and call that vertices export. Paste in what we have just copied out of our object file. So it splits it up, and now we can do just the same we used on the import. We say concatenate the X and a space and Y and a space, we don't, and the Z we default to 0, 0. Because when we scroll down, we see that even Blender created for the set on maybe some vertices some quite strange, very low 0, 1 values, and we default that back to 0. Okay, that's the first step. On the next step, we do the same with faces. Call that faces export. Back to our file, our export file, copy all the faces. So everything that starts with F, so we don't copy the last two lines because they didn't start with an F. Control and paste it. So same, it was split it up, so we use again our concatenate function, and this time, as you might remember, we have to calculate them down so that Silent Hunter can use it in a shapefile. So we only have to do is take the first value -1 followed by a space, and the second value -1 followed by a space, and the third value -1. So then we can just scroll down, mark them all, copy that down. Okay, so now we're gonna start and create our new evenness DE text ship file. So I'll work on the copy that I have made. So we can leave the first two lines. So this one we have to change. We have to look how many vertices we're gonna import. So on the vertices import 370. So that means we're gonna import 370 vertices. We can also do a double check on Blender, which says vertices 370. So that means we copy those ones, go into our file, just change that to 370. And now we're gonna all the way down, delete those ones. Until here. Paste our values from our Excel file. And not only once, just paste them twice. So we're gonna use the same values for the texture map. So I copied them once. As you see, we're on line 373, and just copy again or paste again. So now we do the same with the faces. Go to our faces part. So 351, double check with Blender. 351 faces combined out of 351 triangulates. So back to Excel, copy those, then back to shapefile, replacing the ones. So don't care about the numbering with the 0.0, it's not necessarily needed. We could have done this in Excel, but it also works this way. Okay, then we save that. Go to our Silent Hunter 5 terrain location map. Locate our original one, even as where is it? A little bit more down. There it is. I just renamed that to backup. Yes. So save to do this. So go back to desktop. This is my new one. Copy it and paste it into here. As you can see, we also have reduced nearly the file size by, we halved the file size down, which is also good for system resources. Okay, now I have still open my Silent Hunter 5. I'm gonna load up a save game. Okay, that might take a few seconds because I'm on a very weak MacBook Air working here with a Windows parallel installation. So, and once it's loaded up, we're gonna show if everything worked fine. Okay, we don't have to necessarily start a mission, because if we're gonna ask him for mission orders, this map is the same that is used in-game as navigation map. So, and here we are. We changed the typo. We have our new text, and you can do that with all the texts that are appearing on the Nav Map. And as long as you go with the same workflow, so first exporting the existing one and then use that just as a reference for the size, you don't have to care about the sizing, because the sizing is done in the mission editor. As you see, as I scroll in, it's sized the same way as the old one was sized. And I think it looks quite sharp, and I really like this new font. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it and could follow it up, and maybe here I'll see you on Subsyn. Bye.